Luke here for Following Strength. We are joined by 3 times World's Strongest Man winning coach, Dan Hipkiss. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I am good, thank you. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm great. It's a pleasure to be joined by you, pal, and to start this week off with a bang. I was thinking before we jumped in that most people are aware of you from your time with the Stoltmans, which was incredibly successful. 3 world's titles, some Europe's titles, Brits titles, loads of
Yeah,
stuff. But lately, we've seen you on the scene with Gav Bilton. At
yeah.
Brits, doing really well, seems a bit of a resurgence. How did that relationship come about?
I mean, I've known Gav for nearly 10 years, like since got involved in strongman. I think probably 2017 UK's over in Belfast. I think would be the first time I met Gav when I was working with Paul Smith. I mean, back then I was living with Paul Smith, and we were just um, like I sort of just became a coach by accident. Um, But I've known Gav for a long time. I've got on well with Gav for a long time, but obviously he was working with Dale, who's 3D Strength. And I mean, it's sort of a revolutionary mindset, but I don't believe in stealing athletes off other people because I feel like you shouldn't be a dick. So I sort of had no interest in coaching Gav because he was with Dale, and like Dale's, one of my best mates in the sport, and essentially they reached a point where Dale's life was getting a little bit hectic. Strongman or coaching that level of strongman is sort of all consuming. Um, and Gav messaged and was like, I don't know what's going on with Dale. Would you be interested in coaching me? And I was like, I need a message off Dale before we even have this conversation. And Dale basically messaged and said, like, look, if I think me and Gav have probably reached the end of our time working together, and I want you to coach him. So that's sort of where it came from. I'd sort of done with elite level strongman, to be honest. But it's Gav, and it's one of my best mates asking me to sort it out. So I sort of unretired quite quickly. Uh, so I didn't manage nearly a full year out, and then just started working with Gav. Probably about a year ago, to be honest, just after Britain's Strongest Man last year when he was quite shit.
Well, and he's doing a lot better now. So the proof of the pudding's in the tasting. That
Yeah, no,
that
it's been.
really that really intrigued me what you said about not stealing clients. And I'm sure I've never had anyone talk to me about it directly, but I'm sure that kind of thing happens.
Oh,
But it's
all the time. Lots of little comments and stuff, and people, oh, you should come with me and do this. Like, well, why? Like, if things are going well, you don't need to look at other athletes to boost your roster. And if things are going badly, why would they go with you? Basically,
yeah, I get you. It was really interesting to hear that you and Dale had that conversation, almost like a professional sign off.
yeah, almost like we're professional coaches. Um, like, I don't believe in being a dick. I wouldn't do it to someone I don't like. So I'm definitely not going to do it to one of my best mates in the sport.
It makes perfect sense, and I'm sure that allowed you and Dale to stay good friends.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And it also means like with Gav, there was an ability to have a much more honest conversation about what went wrong from his point of view with Dale, what he felt like he needed more, what worked. You know, if it had been sort of explosive or cloak and dagger, I think you sort of end up not being able to have those same honest conversations about stuff. Um, but even like Dale was like, "Oh, make sure X, Y, and Z. Make sure training's getting logged because he can just slip a bit. Like we live in Wales, and it's rained forever. I think at the moment, and it's really easy for everything to feel a little bit heavy and just a bit like the last thing you want to do is be out doing bag toss in a fucking storm, but you need to do bag toss. So, and there's going to be a storm because you live in Wales, so you just have to. And I think in the past, Gav was guilty of not doing certain things or picking and choosing out of a program, and you know, not taking the easy route, but taking the route that suited what he wanted to do, not necessarily what he needed to do. So yeah, being professional means we can keep being professional with stuff.
Is that how that relationship with Gav started then, as a full, honest review of exactly what's gone wrong and where he's at, kind of thing?
Oh yeah, it's the same with anyone. Like when I started working with Tom, when was that? It's the year after he came 8th at Brits and didn't have a good performance. He was out at World's Strongest Man, all his kit got lost, and I ended up fucking calling someone at Nike who I sort of vaguely knew through stuff I did in the past, just to try and get him a pair of, I think, size 17 lifting shoes over to where they were. And he came, I want to say 5th or 6th that year. He was off the podium, and everyone was saying like, "Oh, you're fucking brilliant." I'm like, you've done well, but you should win worlds, because look at you. Like, why would you not be the world's strongest man? And I mean, with Tom, I said to him, like, give me 1 year and you'll be on the podium. And then he finished second. So it was reasonable. It wasn't a bad year.
Promise fulfilled, yeah.
But yeah, I just think, like, there's this weird thing where people think, I don't know if it's athletes or strong, or because like strongman isn't necessarily like a real sport. It's just like a thing. So people have this mad like reverence to athletes who are doing strongman, and I'm like, well, if they're bad at something, that's the reason they're not winning. So like people be like, oh, Tom needs to train stones more, and it's like, no, probably not, because he's better than almost anyone ever at lifting up big round lumps of concrete. Mm-hmm. So that's not where the gap is. And it's the same with Gav. Like, Gav's a freak. He's strong as fuck. Like, he's crazy strong, but he was fat and lazy. So it, like, obviously we're not like, oh, we can get weaker. That's great. But it's like, maybe we should be like doing volume and pushing that side of stuff a bit more, instead of constantly chasing those 1 rep maxes. So at the moment, it's 6 and 8s across the board pretty much. Huge amount of volume. And then at Brits this year, it's the first time we've seen him fail because of strength instead of just being fat and lazy. And strength is fundamentally like the easiest thing to improve. So we can just get stronger. But we've never, like, he said, like, I don't know what, like, he finished like the deadlift, for example, and he was like, I felt really good. I just couldn't pick it up anymore. Like, yeah, that's what failure is. And he's like, oh, normally I'm just gassed. And I'm like, yeah, that's fat and lazy. Like, there's a difference. Like, if you're not in condition to reach strength failure, then you can't really improve in the same way. So we now know, like, 1 or 2 reps puts him where he needs to be on a world's level. Whereas before it was between 2 and 7, which is quite a fucking broad spectrum to deal with. But we've hit failure. We know where we're at. We can just build from there.
So the limiting factor was his engine, really.
Fat and lazy is the party line. Because like, conditioning is quite hard, and it's really boring, and it's not fun. So why would you do that? Like, that's not the fun bit of the sport. So just don't bother.
Do you think that's something that kind of transitions all the way through the sport? You get the people who are, well, there's a competition called Static Monsters, which obviously profligates people just getting strong in a straight line rather than getting fit.
So I work with Rick from Strom quite closely. So we've both been dancing on the verge of cancellation for a while, to be fair. And he's much more keen on taking the leap over the line than I have been. But essentially, a lot of very fat, very weak people have decided that strongman is a sport where you can just be fat and weak, and then you can justify like not actually getting stronger or fitter or better because you're a strongman and you're fighting for Valhalla instead of like doing a hobby in a car park, which is what 99% of people are doing. So yeah, I think the other side of the coin is like, it's strongman and it isn't a real sport. So it should be a fucking freak show at the top level. You think like a couple of years ago, we had 400 kilo for reps at Brits. And that was really good because that's really fucking heavy.
Bish and Tom Stoltman going at it.
Yeah, and then Bish got that one extra rep on the 360, and you're like, yeah, this is wild. You look at like old events where, I don't know, to me, like, especially at the top level, it should be a freak show. I don't agree with using plates at strongman shows. I think that's just really shit, and it doesn't work at Christmas when it's on telly, like, because no one really knows what loads of 25 kilo plates weighs. But I saw a man run with 4 motorcycles. That's really fucking heavy. And like a big basket of rocks are really heavy. It doesn't actually matter what they weigh. And I just think like the top level of the sport should be a freak show. And then it is like a sport that has evolved out of a TV show. So it's like doing like competitive Takeshi's Castle. And then loads of people being like, oh, I don't like the bit with the boulders, or I don't like the bit where there's like we get chased by Japanese people. Can we get rid of that? I don't like this bit because it's really hard. And I don't like this bit. And then you're like, well, then we're just not doing the same thing anymore. Like it's just a different thing. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's like, it should be strength athletics, essentially, but with a heavy fucking lean towards just be really strong, because we're trying to crown the world's strongest man. Like it should be the strongest man in the, like, it names its fucking self. Like what you're looking for is in the title. And then when, again, like, I mean, we're hopefully all going on fucking holiday to Myrtle Beach together, so I'll probably stay somewhere else. But when people at Worlds are like not getting 180 kilos overhead, and you're in the top one of the sport at the moment, and you've not put 180 kilos overhead at Worlds, like you might be the best strongman and you might have done really well at doing the sport, but you're not the strongest. And that's where I think there's, like, I'm not saying I've got the answer, but somewhere is an answer to actually find like the strongest, freakiest person on the planet.
That's really interesting because we do have different competitions that favor different attributes. And you have, well, you're very well known for working with Tom Stoltman, who is often criticized for only doing exceptionally well at one of them.
Yeah, but also like winning or podiuming at every giant show for 18 months and winning worlds, podiuming, getting on the podium at the Arnold, pulling 400 for 5. Like, I'm not saying we need to do like 500 kilos for reps, because that will be very wank. But to go from 400 for reps to 350 for reps in a year, it's like, well, why have you done that? And we were like, oh, we want people to get more reps. And it's like, well, then they should be stronger. Like, because then they're better. Like, there's like wanting people to do more should come by the people being better, rather than, because let's do like 200 for reps and we'll get loads. Like I reckon like Tom and Gav and Bish and everyone, they could pull 200 for maybe forever. And it'd be like a 7-hour show. And it'd just be like a lot of reps. But it's more inclusive, but it's quite shit. And it's elite sport. Like, I don't go to the Tour de France and go like, well, I'm not that keen on the uphill bits. And I'd like it to be more inclusive. So if we can get rid of and the bicycles are quite hard. So if we stop using them, and instead it's just not the same, but it's progression because more people have finished.
That is interesting because people talk about strongman going through eras. And we had, the freak show era with, like, obviously Eddie, Thor, Brian, and that kind of level. And now it's viewed as a more of an athletic era. But I also having
not.
been to England's Strongest Man a few times, Britain's Strongest Man a few times, and other comps, often the weights at England's Strongest Man are the same at Britain's Strongest Man.
Yeah, but again, that's because it's not a real sport, and that's where the issue comes in with the sense of like, I mean, Glenn has his critics, and some of them are right, some of them are wrong, but the pathway when I was sort of, working with Paul and we were pushing through the UK, his first UK's title, the pathway made sense because you do Northerns, which would be horrific. And it would, I mean, the only issue there was all qualifiers, if they're regional, should be the same weights in same events, like across the board. What you aren't going to do is do a qualifier in the snow in a car park in Spennymoor, because like that was gnarly, and generally why a lot of people did well out of the north, because it was horrific to be there. It was naturally going to be a tough show because you're not in a hall, you're literally like in the snow trying to lift stones. Like, but the pathway was a regional qualifier that was hard, but some people would know rep. Like to me, if we're doing 0 to 5 to maybe 8 reps is where you want weights to be. Some people will know reps, some people will do some. From there, you go to England's. That should be a bit harder. And then from there, you go to UK's, which should be sort of a considerable jump up because you're then trying to find an international title. Whereas with the Giants pathway, you just it sort of happens, and then you're at Giants Live, or you're not. You could be really good and not there, but that's your fault for existing, I suppose. That's like, or you could like come second at a national qualifier, but you are Welsh, and that's your fault. So you don't actually get an invite for coming second, but you could come sort of wherever in any of the other countries' qualifiers and get an invite, which again suggests it's maybe not like real. It's just very literally made up.
In that scenario, because that is very true regarding Wales, Ireland,
Yeah.
Scotland to some level, how do you ensure that strength in depth is recognised? Because I think if you looked at England's Strongest Man, for instance, the top 5 probably at England's, if you took Gav out of the equation, would probably be the top 5 in Wales. So should someone who comes second at Wales, well, at the Welsh champs, come above someone who came third at England's, for instance?
Yeah, because then it's a sport. So if like the top 2 get a spot, that gives you 8 places. If you look like England's, Ireland, Scotland's, and the Welsh, top 2 get a spot, and then you could have, in theory, you could have 8 other invites, which covers like Gav shouldn't do the Welsh because he's going to win, and that stops the sport progressing if there's only one spot. Like Gav, I mean, I coached the guy who came second. Like Dave Rampley is a good strongman, but Gav is better than everyone in Wales by like a chunk. So him having to do the Welsh stops that progression. But you could have had like Dave Rampley and Jamie Butler from Wales, and then you've got 2 new fresh athletes coming into Brits who have gone through a pathway as well. So like I would bring back I would like to see like North and South Wales Strongest Man. Like Scotland's a bit too fucking all over the place as a country, so it's quite hard to regionalize it as a sport because they form like little pockets of strongmen around the place. But like Scotland's Strongest Man should have 2 guaranteed places to Britain's Strongest Man. The same with the Irish. And like when Parr was competing, everyone's like, "Oh, Parr always gets a spot," and it's like, yeah, because he's stronger than everyone. Like that's fine. Let him have his spot, but that shouldn't be at the expense of anyone else progressing through the sport. We could have in theory, you could have 16 people doing Brits. It wouldn't be a stress. You chuck 4 lanes out for a lot of events. Deadlifts can go head to head. Like, it's logistically not that much more difficult. And that way you can have 8 qualified, 8 invites, because like Tom and Luke shouldn't do Scotland's because then they've taken those spots. And in England, like there is a good depth of English athletes, which means that the unqualified 8 would probably have a pretty hefty leaning towards the English athletes, but that's still fine because then the actual show's still good and you're getting like a very definitive progression through the sport. And if you top 2 at England's, where you look at the England's lineup that there has been with like Ben and Paddy and like Paul when he decides to not wear lingerie and actually do strongman, like they're all capable of being in the top half of Brits. So, like, it's there. There's a lot of athletes who are capable of it. Gav finishing 4th, like, it wasn't the perfect performance, but it was pretty close. Like, he's close to the podium. You look at a lot of the lads, like, I think Ben finished 6th or 7th-ish. Was he 6th?
7th, yeah.
Like, that's not a bad Brits performance. But you go like, oh, well, you know, he's off the pace. Like, no, it's just like we've picked really freaky athletes who, like, Tom was on form. Like, Tom did what you would expect Tom to do. I wouldn't say it was like, again, like, you can't tell because we've gone backwards in weights, but he did exactly what I thought he would do with those weights. But if it was 400 for reps, then you can go like, fucking hell, he's pulled one more. Like, one more rep at 400 is like wild. So, like, he did what I expected. Hicks and Bish, like, they did slightly more than I expected, but not out of disrespect for them. Bish looked like he was Big Bish again, which doesn't always translate to a full show. And somehow he brought fucking conditioning to the size that he had, you know, a year or 2 years ago when he was big, and he could pull all the reps, but his full show pace wasn't there. He's combined them, and it's fucking impressive to see. Seeing Hicksy moving again and back on form, like, it was a really good show, but I just think it lacked. There was a gap, you know. There's sort of considerable jumps down the table. I think more athletes, more qualifiers, more spots just will close that up. It'll mix it up a bit more, make it a bit more interesting.
That's all really interesting to me, to be honest, and something that weirdly I think about more than I should. I've considered whether, if it's to be a sport, then, as you said about standardized qualification processes where everyone does the same events, same weights, and all of that, should there be 16 spots and there is an England strongest man, a Welsh strongest man, all of that, and whoever the top 16 are, if you put all of those comps together on the same day, those are your 16 that go to Brits, regardless of nationality? Or do you need to guarantee like representation?
I would say the issue there is, like, I wouldn't want to see Tom and Luke and like certain athletes doing their regional events, because then everyone else will be coming lower down the table. But maybe like the top 8, like I said, I think 8 and 8 makes sense, because then you can invite, like, Bish shouldn't do England's because he's really good.
Yeah, he never
Like,
has.
he's like such a big, like, Bish is a world's athlete. I think once you've been to World's Strongest Man, or like maybe if you've made a world's final, or like there'll be a cutoff point, you then don't need to do your regional qualifier.
I know, for instance, Bish has never done England's. I won't name drop them just because obviously private conversations, but there's someone who has told me that they did England's the year that they did it because it's a 10 grand payday. And they were like, as much as I want to be fair to other people, I've also got bills to pay and I'm going to.
That's, again, not a real sport. so that's where the issue comes in, where people have to do stuff. And you look at when like Matt Ragg was first coming up, and World's like, oh, it's amazing, he's got a full-time job, and we're like, you understand that's like actively a bad thing, like because he's at the pinnacle of the sport and has to work full-time to make a living. And you're like, oh, isn't that great? And like, no, what you've done is fucked up, and you're somehow spinning it as like a really good thing. You're like, oh, these athletes are like working loads. It's like rugby in the 90s when like the England squad had full-time jobs, and then they stopped having full-time jobs and got like the sport moved forward, and now they're also quite shit again, but at least they're getting paid for it, so it sort of balances out all right.
Yeah,
but
that's a great example.
Like it's like, to me, I think as soon as you hit like the Giants live level, every single athlete should be going through media training. They should be going through like a pool of sponsors where, you know, not everyone's going to go with SPD, not everyone's going to go with Cerberus or Reband, anyone who's making kit. But there should be like, you are at Giants Live, you go through media training, we clean up your social media from, you know, maybe don't have a public profile when you're liking loads of OnlyFans models pictures, because that doesn't look great. And like, let's teach you how this works, so none of you have to have a job, because then you can be doing the sport full time.
I love that. Yeah, and that's media training for sure would be
I mean,
beneficial for all of them.
Like honestly, if you're going to do one thing, media train them. Because some are pretty questionable, and then you put them on TV and they're also dull as fuck, and it's like, well, these are two bad things. And like, people moan at Evan, but he's been through, I still call it the WWF, but he's not been trained by pandas, it's the other one. But he's been through media training, and that's why people keep watching all of the videos that he's in and then leave comments about how much they hate watching him. And then you're like, well, you've watched all of it to comment that, so sound like that's how media training works.
Yeah, thanks for the engagement, I think a lot of people always say.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, there needs to be a step towards it being a sport. I think like World's Strongest Man, if ever an athlete is announced, it needs to be not, well, justified, essentially. Like, we have invited this person because of this. And like, that way, like, there'll be a couple of unpopular years, but then it actually becomes a transparent sport where you can say to someone getting into the sport, like, they've done Northern's, England's, Britain's, Europe's, World's. That is your pathway. Like, that is the way into it. Instead of they just appeared one day and somehow got an invite to Worlds and no one's that sure why.
Yeah, the invite system is something that everyone questions and wonders about. Obviously, very recently with the World's invites and the wild cards and certain people missing out and all of that. I mean, I have to say, I think this year more British people have forced an invite through podiums than they would have liked, I'm sure. I'm sure they didn't want that many Brits. But when you look at invites to various shows, you do see that, you know, Evan Singleton is going to be at almost every Giants Live show. Mitch Hooper will be at almost every Giants Live show, as long as they want to be there. And how you get in is a bit murky. And the example that I had in my head was your client Gav last year. He did, I think,
he shouldn't have got all the spots he got, because he was quite shit. I'm glad he did, because it kept him in the phone book. But I mean, the reality is, like, my opinion again, it's like Giants essentially need to stop inviting everyone to everything as athletes, but equally, like, let's say Gav had qualified for Worlds by coming fourth at Brits, which would have qualified him literally every other year ever. But they want him at Europe's. Europe's is terribly placed for World's Strongest Man. It's the worst timing for a show. It's 2018 since someone did good at Europe's and good at Worlds, and that was Thor, who was probably the most dominant strongman for a long time in that year. Um, and what I would say is like, right, Gav, you've qualified for Worlds. We want you at Europe's. We want you there for the meet and greet. Jump on the microphone, do this. We'll pay you hotel. We'll pay you a retainer or a day fee or however that works without phone calls getting leaked from Dubai and everyone being sad that people are trying to pay athletes to turn up to stuff. Like that works. Like Evan Singleton is good at a show, but I think as an athlete, he would benefit from doing a few less of them. But that isn't to say he shouldn't be there. He shouldn't be part of the show. He shouldn't be part of the experience. And that way, Giants Live then becomes a feeder to, Europe's should be like, it should be a qualified event. And that way, like, you can get into stuff. It's the same with like the winner of OSG should get a Giants Live invite, not a Worlds invite, because it's different. Like, it's really fucking different. Like, the level is different, and also the pace of, you're warming up for an event whilst the last event is still happening. Like, that's not normal. And I think if people start to realize, like, if we're entertainment, then those athletes should be there for entertainment, and that doesn't mean they need to compete. And if it becomes a real sport, then you wouldn't do all those competitions because they're going to destroy people. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think we've had so many injuries and so many repeat injuries of people like trying to get back really quickly and end up pushing themselves too much.
Yeah. One thing I've thought about recently is I refer to it in my head as the Contender Series. I would love to see a level below Giants Live, for instance, in the UK. I'd like to see a level below for all the athletes who are what you might call on the bubble. So I'm talking those people who, okay, Ben Glasscock, he's going to qualify into Brits, but then he's gotten into Europe's as a reserve. He's on the bubble. He's on the bubble, as Paddy was.
Having that opportunity to do something else, but then to me, that's other Giants Lives. And that gives you the chance to, if you're not inviting the same 8 to 10 people to every Giants Live show, then it means they become a feeder into the titled shows.
That's what I like for the Contender Series. It would be like, you could just rattle them off now, but obviously Paul Smith, Ben would be in there, Flynn might be in there, Kane Francis might be in there from England, and other people of a level, done Giants but not consistently all the time. And you would run the shows, I think, a week after the Giants shows. So if Brits was February the 7th or whatever, this one would be February the 14th. It would have really similar events so that if they get called up, they can back out of their Contender and go into the real one. And at the Contender shows, if you come top 2, you are guaranteed to be in the next proper Giants Live show.
Yeah, and I just think allowing that feed in, it takes the pressure off athletes as well. I would say with Paul, like, he did come 5th at Brits. Like, he's a good athlete. He then just decided to become as uninvitable as possible through social media, which is an interesting tactic. But like, him not being at Brits was a fuck up. Like, realistically, like, he should be there. Like, he's a good athlete. He's freaky strong. And like, Paul should be at Brits. And I'm not saying like he'd smash it, but he wouldn't be last. Like, by quite a long way. I think like people like that. But again, you've got to justify people's invites, or you just invite them because you want to. And whilst both systems are happening, then nothing's going to actually be fair for anyone, really.
But the way I think about it is turkeys don't vote for Christmas. And obviously, if you've got a big money-making machine, as is Giants Live, as is other strongman promotions, you're not going to do something that's going to reduce your bottom line. And if, let's just say, Gav sells a load of tickets, a load of merch, he's great in the VIP meet and greet and all of that, and that's profiting your business, it's a conflict because, like you said, it's not a sport. There's no governing body.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they tried that, and then everyone got angry that they tried to stop them dying. and that seemed unpopular.
Well, amongst the dead, I'm sure it would have been more popular, but
Yeah, but they're dead, so we can sell merch based on them. That seems to be the done thing at the moment. You just start a company and steal other people's ideas for merch.
oh God, I've seen that. Like that's yeah, the imitation stealing and stuff's mental. Um, you
Yeah,
mentioned you mentioned Brits went pretty much almost to plan for you guys, um, and Gav was he was mega. I think everyone was very shocked by his performance actually, based on what we'd seen last year. Um, we've got Europe's coming up. You are right; it's the worst placed comp. It's a week and a half before Worlds, and you've obviously got to fly
yeah,
out and have some
yeah.
acclimatization. Um, how do you feel about Europe's for Gav? Good events, bad events?
I mean, if it was at any other time of the year, I'd be buzzing. But first of all, like he came fourth at Brits. The two of the people above him have already got a world spot. He should have a world spot because I mean they've invited down to sixth place from Brits before, and like so if we take aside the fact that him doing it is an absolute fuck up, the actual show should be really good. The events are good. It's really light. Like it's a bit sort of shit and light for an international title. But it's also really close to Worlds. But then if you weren't already inviting six guys who had Worlds invite, like I'd just move it essentially. Like if we take Europe's inner bubble as an event, I think it's way too light. I think, we should be up at the 400 for reps on the deadlift. Overhead should be 150, 160 plus. Like it should be a meaningful step up. For where it is in the calendar, it's probably about right. I think we're like training really hard. Like I said before, loads of volume, lots of reps, getting that conditioning up. Working really closely with Rick, who owns Strom. Like we're getting his bloods done regularly, making sure we're doing everything healthily. Obviously, he's sponsored by Beast Farm, but they're sort of intertwined with Strom. So, like supplements and everything, we're doing every single thing we can to like really piss people off at Europe's. Like we want, like if he doesn't win, I want whoever beats him to be like pretty fucked at the end of it. Like it's going to be, we're hitting I think 8. Like my target is always 8s on rep events, and then if someone beats you, like fair play to him. Like you've earned it. His moving's really good. Like everything he's doing is improving. So I think we're in a really good place with where we need to be. For me, I don't agree with any athlete doing a show they don't intend on winning, and that's the approach I take as a coach as well. Like we're turning up, we're there to win it. And yeah, I mean that's the plan. Like if someone's taking that title, they're going to be really fucking good.
Too right. And you said, yeah, if they're beating him, I, in my own head, theory crafting, I think that the 6 people who have already qualified for Worlds, I'm sure are going to come in and put in a really big performance. I would,
Probably.
I would think it is impossible for someone who has Worlds a week and a half later to go 100%, even if they intend to. I
I
think
just
when they pull their 4th rep and the 5th one would be maximal, they're just not
yeah
going to do it and they're going to save
yeah,
themselves.
which again, aside from it being a bit light, also will cheapen that title a bit. Which is why I want to put that. Like we've done it before with Tom at Brits and stuff. When Tom was looking pretty dominant, it's like, well, we're just going to do the events by ourselves, and there's no smart reps. There's no like, oh, we'll win by 1. It's like, no, we're just going to fucking smash it. And then when people go, oh yeah, but so and so wasn't there, and it's like, yeah, but we pulled 8 reps on that. So like, would they pull 9? And you sort of allow that question to exist because, like you say, the timing of it is so uniquely terrible considering the same people organize all of it. That it's just gonna. I just think it's really stupid for people to think they can go 100% at Europe's and then fly to Worlds and be fine.
Hmm.
Because, like, I mean, talking to Z years ago, his goal for like Worlds or the Arnold was to have a day per hour of time difference.
Got you.
Like in terms of acclimatization, he said like that's perfect. Anything less than that is like fine, but not optimal. And we're in South Carolina, so that is roughly just as you blow the whistle for Europe's, you'll be ideally on a plane. So it's sort of cutting things a little bit finer than you'd like.
Yeah. Actually, Bish is doing that. Bish is flying to America like the day after Europe's, I think.
Yeah, which is like brutal because then you're on a plane after doing Europe's, and I mean, existing is pretty bad the day after a giant show, and being on a plane is probably like one of the worst places you can just be, like voluntarily. Like war's probably bad, but like being on a plane after a giant show is, I'd say, like a close second.
And I was thinking about Europe's, and I could be wrong. I see it as a bit of a battle between Gav, Graham Hicks, and Ben. And I have heard a
Yeah,
rumour, and I don't want to speak out of school here, but I've heard a rumour that if Graham Hicks were to qualify for Worlds, he might not be able to go because of his life situation.
yeah, and
And
I mean the thing for me is like essentially, it's. I mean, we're there to win it,
mhm,
so it's sort of like I don't like if Hitsy qualified and he wasn't able to go for whatever reason, you would obviously take the spot. But I'd rather Hitsy go because he qualified.
mhm,
Like I think like we're gonna turn up with the point of view like we're gonna fucking send it. Like it's like it could be a battle between anyone. Like we're going all in. Like
yeah.
the thing for like Brits was an experiment. Like we didn't know where we were at, and now we know where we're at, and we're pushing. As Gav said, like this prep already, like we're a couple of weeks in. There's not that many left, but he's like, this is the hardest I've ever trained for anything. I'm like, well, that's good because it's going to get considerably worse. Like this is the easy build up. Like it's going to be brutal. It's not a sustainable prep. Like this is we're prepping for Europe's and Worlds, and then we'll pull all the way back after, and we'll chill and you make sensible career decisions and start picking and choosing giant shows after that. And but no, we're all in for yeah, like it's going to be hectic.
Oh, I think it's going to be a fierce battle. I'm obviously unashamedly rooting for my boy Ben to go in and do damage.
Yeah, I'd love to see like he's a good athlete. I'd love to see him do well, but equally, with all due respect, fuck him. Like, it's anyone. Like that's why I only ever like I coached Tom and Luke at the same time, and aside from winning everything, it was a bit of a fuck up. Like, I'm all in on one person, and everyone else who isn't them, I do not give a fuck about.
Oh, I think that's the way it should be.
Yeah,
Completely.
like I mean, after Brits, I gave Tom a big hug. Like seeing Tom do what he should do is nice. But beforehand, like I said hello to Sinead. Like I'm not going to talk to Tom. Like I don't care. Like not in a shitty way. Like I'm done. Like I'm literally looking at Gav. I need to see how he's breathing, how he's like everything is focused on one thing. So it's like people say, like, "Oh, have you seen so and so's training?" I'm like, I do not give a fuck. Like my Instagram feed is guns and like
Jiu-
hunting stuff. It's not.
Jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, it is now because I have fully embraced the most autistic sport in the world.
Followed closely
It
by
is,
Strongman.
yeah, no, we've got Friday Night Combat Cuddling Club, and it's yeah, super manly and very very straight. I think is how we're describing it.
Absolutely. You've touched on the Stoltmans then. Your time with them was incredibly successful.
Yeah,
Multiple world's titles, Europe's titles, Brits titles, everything. How, like, it might be a silly question. How did it feel reaching the summit of the sport for you as a coach quite quickly? Like you were coaching the best person in the world.
I just felt like the right thing to do. Like I know it sounds really weird, but I just like decided that I wanted to be better than anyone had ever been at what I do, and that was what I decided to do. Like it's not how normal people is. Like I'm aware that's not a normal sentence, but I was like, no, I'm gonna like if this is what I'm doing, I'm gonna be better than anyone at it. And still like the only coach to coach a back to back and 3-time winner of World's Strongest Man. And like Brian coached himself for a couple of his Z changed coaches and had multiple, but like in terms of like one to one, just working with someone like the only person to do that won. A few Brits, a few Scotlands, a few Europes, a lot of Giants podiums, quite a few world records as well. And also like not having to do the last event in the group stages at Worlds for 2 years with two different athletes. Like it's nice winning stone offs and things. Like it was good, but it was just like the thing I wanted to do. So
Mhm.
that was just like what was going to happen. Like I said to Tom, like we like if we're doing this, like you're going to win everything, and like I believed it, he believed it. So that's like it sounds really cunty, but like that's just what happened
Mhm.
because there sort of wasn't an alternative that was like ever to be considered.
Yeah, plan A has to work. There is no plan B.
Yeah, well, that's it. If you can only count to A, you run out of plans pretty quickly. Like,
I don't know people that count in letters, but okay. But yeah, you reach the pinnacle, and then obviously, as all things do in this finite universe, it comes to an end. How
yeah,
how did it feel when it came to the end and you were no longer operating at that level?
um, I mean, the diplomatic answer is sometimes professional relationships break down,
Mhm.
and that's the thing that happens. The less diplomatic answer is occasionally that shouldn't be perfectly timed with your brother's penis being on the internet. And that seemed to be, I think the term is ring fencing, where, things are going a bit fucking sideways and hectic. And then there is this decision to close all doors. Um, and, a few things I didn't agree with, like, oh, Tom's got this really bad back injury. And it's like, well, he did pull 400 for five um, and was fine. And then you booked him to play, like, do loads of YouTube content where he played golf with professional golfers for 5 days in a row, and then his back was sore. And it's like, well, I mean, maybe it's that, maybe it's the throwing yourself into another sport. But in terms of like, I was just done. Like, if it wasn't Gav, I wouldn't coach anyone at this level at all. Like, I've got no interest in it really. Um, like I've done it. I'm happy. I'm sort of living in a house in a. I mean, there's almost sun shining outside, which I don't think I've seen yet this year. Um, but I was just done. Like I'd done what no one else had done, so sort of finished with it. It was a very. Uh, it wasn't how I would like to have ended it, but like what we did was better than anyone else. So it was quite nice to like if you take the situation out of it, it needed to end at some point. I firmly believe like working together, we could have got 5 or 6 world's titles. I logically he's still capable of it, but like I said before, I don't coach him. I don't care. Like not in a. It's just that investment side is done. Um, but I think he's such a freaky athlete. He's capable of doing essentially whatever he wants. But coaching Tom, like programming, essentially programming any strongman is really easy. But coaching people is a different world.
Yeah. And you were with them when they were building what you might call an empire,
Yeah,
really maximizing their ability to earn their earning potential, which is really
yeah,
important. Both of the guys, and I don't know them personally, but from the outside, it looked like they were both building their personal lives as well, getting married, having
Yeah.
children, and obviously competing at the very pinnacle at the same time. Um, was that like a tricky situation to be in? Because you need them dialed in on this training session, this competition, and they've got
No,
YouTube to
like
film.
it's a job. So if you do your job, I don't really give a fuck what you do outside of it, so long as it doesn't affect your job. Like if it's a sport, like then training is the thing that lets your job happen, and other stuff. So long as it doesn't have an impact on it, then it's not an issue. And that's what I don't get with people like winning some fucking vague novice comp who are like, oh yeah, I missed my daughter's birthday to train. I'm like, well, then you are actually a dick, because why would you do that? Like, you can do both. You should be training for a couple of hours, like fit that in. Like if you can be an elite level strongman and train for a few hours a day plus an event session, which is going to take longer, you can do other stuff.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, and we need to, right? Particularly like you said,
Yeah,
when athletes are having to work full-time jobs to provide for
yeah,
their lives, they've got to balance it all out.
yeah. And that's the thing. Like you see, like people are, oh, so and so's up, and oh, that's going to get in the way of Tom's session. I'm like, if it gets in the way of his session, then it's an issue. But if it doesn't, then I really don't care. Like I firmly believe, like most of the time, you should be training Monday to Friday anyway. Like I do Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday is my perfect world's prep, strongman prep. If you don't have a real job, you can train events on a Friday. Obviously, that's the ideal world. It's the first thing I did with Tom. He was like, "Oh, I do events on a Saturday." I'm like, "Not anymore. Like, you've got life. Go and do stuff. Like, go to the football. Go and do this, because then you're at work. Monday to Friday, you are at work, and that's the difference." Same with like nutrition and stuff. I believe, like for elite strongmen, weekends off more or less. Like, don't just eat total shit, but like if you're like, oh, I've took chicken and rice because we went out for a family meal, and I'm like, well, that sounds fucking hideous. Like, go and do the fun stuff, because otherwise you resent the thing that you're meant to love doing.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, yeah, I fully agree. Fully agree.
Yeah,
And I like that viewpoint that, yeah, it's your job and you turn up for work and you do what's required of you.
yeah, and it's like a weird job, but and you start adding in like food and you start adding in recovery. But that's why I believe in like having the Wednesday off, so you can get some midweek recovery in. And then Saturday and Sunday between events and deadlifts, you get 2 full days of rest to be happy, which seems underrated at the moment in the sport.
Oh, it can be hard to come by, you know. Um,
Yeah, we need to be sad and suffer to, like, these plastic trophies aren't going to win themselves. Like, we've got to.
Dan, this has been a real joy, and I'm conscious we've been going for ages. Um, we always finish up with a little kind of fluff piece. For your one today, as a coach who has coached at the highest of high levels, I'm thinking we need to design a comp with 6 events that would crown the most well-rounded strongman. Like you said earlier, the strongest man in the world. What would that 6 event comp look like for you? Like, what deadlift variation are we using? Are we having a deadlift? Are we?
Uh, 400 for reps, because we're adults, so you should be pulling 400 for reps. Probably 160 log for reps. Or,
Nice.
I mean, to be fair, maybe like the fortissimus overhead medley, but just heavier.
Hmm.
So like logs, dumbbells, mixes of stuff, but just heavy. Like having a 80-kilo dumbbell at Brits is like really shit.
Hmm.
But we could have like hundreds, 110s. Like stuff should be hard and gnarly. Um, a heavy yoke, not like Arnold's heavy when it made Z shorter, but like a dirty heavy yoke. It's that 3.
That's 3.
I like bag toss. I think weight for height is more interesting because you then are the most explosive, not necessarily the best at getting between the bags.
Have you ever been a spectator watching bag for height?
Yeah,
It's the
was
most
at the
bored I've ever been at the UK Arnold.
so the American Arnold managed to make it not dull as fuck. But then it's a sport where front hold exists, which is the shittest event that's ever existed. Because as like if you're commentating, you just go like, oh, he's standing there. Yep. Well, that looks hard. Yep. I like weight for height, but I think like bigger jumps, heavier. Like it doesn't need to be like boring. It could be an interesting one. Like when they nearly killed someone with a breeze block, that was exciting. I think that was like 93, 94, when Gary Taylor was kicking ass and then someone threw a breeze block at a wall and nearly died. That was good. I'd like to see
We got two left.
a heavy loading event.
Mm-hmm.
So like people moan at me for wanting like strong, freaky stuff. I don't want people stood in one place. I just want it to be really fucking hard.
Mm-hmm.
So like a really heavy loading event, like 2018 Worlds qualifier, when there's like a 180 kilo sandbag that was slightly taller than Paul was. Like that was a fucking gnarly event. And then you see like Shivlikov walked up when we're testing stuff, and everyone's like, "Oh my god!" And he just picked it up, dropped it. It was like, "Yeah, it's heavy," and just walked off. And we're like, "Oh fuck, that's cool." Like, do you know what? Like heavy stuff, and then just heavy stones, like up to 220, like heavy stones.
Yeah.
Like I'm sort of not bored of seeing people finish them, but it'd be nice to see people failing stones again.
Yeah, I think the light set at Europe's is going to be. We're going to see ridiculous times.
Yeah, and it just leads to issues with timing. It leads to people starting a little bit quicker, and I just think like, well, if not all of you are going to finish it, it doesn't fucking matter. Like you're not looking for hundredths of a second anymore. I want like even like a 240 last stone, like heavy, because then you're better than anyone at lifting up rocks, which is maybe this is more autistic than jiu-jitsu. Like it's up there. Like it's got but yeah, I think but I am a fan of moving events. I just think they should be really fucking hard.
Yeah.
That,
If I could add one thing in, I would add in. Have you seen this clip? I think it's an SCL show from last year, and they finished an event by you had to jump through like a sheet of paper, and
yeah, the
someone
issue is
trips and
strongmen.
falls, and it goes through. Just their head goes through it.
The
I would
problem
love to
is
see
strongmen
something stupid like that.
aren't good at moving sometimes or that smart, so it would definitely go wrong. Like I think it was 1994 Manfred Hoverall Classic, where they just carried a sheet of plexiglass at a fan boat. That was fun. They also hired, I'm going to call them professional models from the local area who most of their modeling was probably done on street corners.
Yep.
And one of them just jumped off a truck and got caught by strongman and 100% got a nose broken because then just stood up off this pile of strongmen, just pouring blood out her face. And they're like, yeah, this is fine. Like, this is like, that's the sport people are saying, like, oh, we need to protect. It's like, it's not real. This isn't like, it's not a real sport. It's a different, like, I don't know. You look at the WWF, you look at collegiate wrestling, like, they're just different things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we need to decide which of them we are.
Do you think the Arnold, just to finish us off, do you think the Arnold this past weekend got it right? Not in terms of event selection, but in terms of difficulty, because we had like that Dinny Stone into drag. I think two people finished it, and then some
I mean,
people
America's
barely.
strongest man at the Arnold Classic was problematic because there are other countries in the world.
There's Canada.
Okay, North America's strongest man. to be geopolitically sort of correct. I fundamentally disagree with carrying Dinny Stones for speed because I think it's a super good way to fully end someone's career. But in terms of weights and it being hard, I think they nailed it. I think that's quite a good show. I think like the Arnold, when it's good, probably crowns the strongest person, and World's Strongest Man crowns the person who does best at the events at World's Strongest Man. And they're fundamentally incredibly far apart at times.
That makes perfect sense. And then for a time, we had the strongest man on earth as well. Hopefully that will return.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so, but I just think it was like it's really hard to make money running strongman shows. And like, there's a reason that like the first. I mean, we went to a Brits qualifier, I think 2018, and it literally in a car park down south somewhere. Terry and Martin C ran it, and that wasn't that long ago.
Mm-hmm.
But Brits 10 years ago, 11 years ago was a car park show. And I think in order to run a promotion of that size, you have to not necessarily start in a car park, but not start in a giant expo center, because then all of the cost is there, hoping that people give a fuck. And fundamentally, if it's like recycling and like being into the environment, like for the vast majority of people, if it adds any level of inconvenience to their life, they're not going to do it. And Colorado is hard to get to because it is cold and far.
Oh, yes. I went last summer. It is cold and far.
So why would like you would go if World's Strongest Man went there? Because you know that the production exists, you know who's going to be there, you know it's essentially going to be quite shit but interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is what Worlds is as a show. Like it's all right, but go to a giant show if you want to like actually watch Strongman. But to set up a new show there, like fair play to Brian for trying it. I hope it comes back, but I think it needs to be like scaled back a little bit in order to then grow again into what it could be.
Yeah, the expo last year, it was at the Blue Arena in Loveland in
Yeah,
Colorado. And the expo was, and I say this with respect, the worst expo I've ever been to. I
which is
think,
impressive because they're all shit.
yeah, and I've been to the Madrid Arnold.
Yeah,
It had about 6 or 7 exhibitors. I hadn't heard of any of them, and I'm
yeah,
somewhat in the fitness world. Arm wrestling, there was a lot of space and money given to things which I'm not sure added to the bottom line.
no, and that's it. Like the Arnold can do that, but the Arnold's been running for ages
Mm,
and is established and is the pinnacle of various sports.
yeah.
And I think, like, I really hope that they just not like when the COVID years when it was in his garage were really good, but that's not great for making money. But one step up from that for a year or two, then step it up. Like he runs a good show. He actually cares about the athletes. Like there are
Yeah,
so
for sure.
many, like so many positives with it. But I think he he's so successful as an athlete and as a person, he doesn't understand how normal stuff should start.
Mm. I'd love to see it go to the Olympia because that's
Yeah,
why the Arnold Strongman is so good. It tagged on to a
yeah,
huge event already, and grew with it.
yeah, which works. It just works well.
Yeah, for sure. Dan, this has been a genuine joy. Thank you so much for joining us, pal.
No
Um,
worries. Thank you for asking me on.
hey, absolutely. And good luck at Europe's. I'm sorry that Ben will be taking that plane seat to Myrtle Beach, but there's always next year,
There's loads of plane seats to Myrtle Beach. It's I'll buy him a beer when he's in the stand. That'll be lovely.
Dan, thanks so much, mate.